Hi, welcome to Playerole DM Talk. Tonight we have a great episode. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's our Halloween special. Starts at 8 p.m. Central. And tomorrow, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it's about. Join in tomorrow. Tomorrow is just one of those things that, hey, it's Halloween. Halloween's just around the corner. I mean, it's coming next Thursday. It's Halloween. You gotta love it. So tomorrow, Halloween special. Join us at 8 p.m. Tonight, we're going to talk about very, very cool topic. What is role playing? Well, everybody knows what a role playing game is, right? You got it wrong. Not everybody knows what a role playing game. If they knew what a role playing game is, they would just join and play. Role playing is not just rolling dice. Role playing is role playing. You're interacting with people. If you're the DM, referee, storyteller, you role play a situation, any given scenario, and you go from there. A lot of times people mistake that as, oh, we're gonna have combat. We're gonna have combat. We're gonna go ahead and fight, and that's it. No, you're not playing a tabletop game. Don't mistake that with role playing because it's not what it's about. Granted, you have a table, you have chairs, you have players, but please don't mistake that with role playing, because role playing is what it's the definition of role playing. It is role playing. You are in a situation. You are going to improv the situation given by the DM or referee. So if you are in a tavern scenario, you're going to improv that scenario. Everybody's like, well, that's not what role-playing is, improv. You got to have miniatures, you got to have a map, you got to have all those things. No. Theater of the mind is what makes role-playing. See, everyone forgets that when all this started, it started with a piece of paper and pen. You sat around the table. You got something to eat. You had pop with you. You had chips. You had food. You had a referee, storyteller, DM, and you played. There wasn't no miniatures. And if there was, they were used very rarely, only for position. But even that's not the definition of a role-playing game. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's not what it is. A role-playing game is a gathering of friends, family, people sitting at the table and improvising the story. Folks, if there's no story and you don't role play, you don't interact with another player, it's not RPG. You're playing a tabletop game, which means combat only. That's it. Combat situation on the table. You have your main backdrop, your trees, your water, river, your bridge, your castle, your mountains, whatever it is you have in that scenario. Folks, it's not just about tabletop. Now you take all those elements and you create a great, beautiful story. But ultimately, without the story, without the role-playing, without the improv, it's not role-playing. Sorry, it's not. It's not. You tell me if I'm wrong. Comment. Tell me, Henry, you're wrong. You know, I found this not what role-playing is. It's about miniatures. It's about, we're at the table. Yeah, those are elements of role-playing, but it's not a complete definition of what role-playing is. Because if you look at games like Vampire the Masquerade, They might have they have miniatures, but do people use them? I never used them. Nobody did. Not in my crew. No, we improv'd. I had a story. I literally brought them into the room. You don't really need miniatures. You don't need maps. If I describe a scenario, let's take you in the role playing. You walk in to a room. You walk into a room, the door closes behind you. You hear the you look inside the room. You see the chandelier drops beautiful crystals around the chandelier, illuminating the room. What are you doing? I look around the room. I see that there's a circular table in the middle of the room. I see that there's a bed in the side. I see that there's incredible markings on the wall. I see the ground slick, and there's some liquid or translucent substance on the ground. That's what I see. Your senses are very important when you role play. Sight. As a DM, you describe what the player sees. Sound. You hear an echo in the distance. Smell. A hint of sulfuric. Something sulfuric. Egg-like smell. Smell. Taste. There was blood. There was salt somewhere. Touch. The ground is slick. The ooze drips past your wrist, your forearm, as it drops into the ground. You could hear the splash of the water. You can see the light before you. The shadows, something is moving in the distance. You can hear the footsteps behind you. Those are the elements of role-playing. When you role-play, you have a certain voice that you do. The voice, the improv, that is role-playing. Not miniatures. Sorry, I'm going to scratch those out right now. Not a map. Not trees, not anything to even have at your table. When I role-played when I was a younger guy with the group I had, my group, it had pencil, paper, and dice. That's it. Period. Didn't have no miniatures. Now, are those things cool? I use them because we're in 2024. People like visuals, people like to see and stuff. But ultimately, to bring you into that realm of role-playing, it's theater of the mind. You describe the scenario. You can smell, you can see, you can feel, you can hear, and touch. Those are the elements of role-playing. The true elements of role-playing. Not combat. Combat is wonderful. Yeah. You fight. It gives you that exhilaration, that energy, that I have the sword at my side or a hammer or whatever. Gives you all that energy. But remember, role-playing is improv. You're communicating with a player, and players communicate with the NPCs. They make the setting of the story. They're the pieces of the puzzle. The cog moves and turns. And you have to understand that when you role play, you give it your all. The essence of what role-playing is. Why do I love doing it? I love doing voices, coming up with voices, different voices, scenarios, traps for the players, having a great story. Those are the elements of role-playing. Miniatures, everything, all that are aesthetics. They're just scenery. Does it make it look pretty? Hell yeah. But the one thing that you'll miss is this. Combat, for example, can be done very easily without miniatures. Very easy. Same thing happens. You have your initiative. Player 1 goes, what are you doing? Oh, I want to move 30 feet. I want to move. How far is he? He's 50 feet away. All right. I'm gonna walk 30 feet. I'm gonna pull my cord back on my bow and shoot my bow. Boom. That's what you do. It's very easy. Describe what you're doing as a player. I grab my sword. I just have the hilt on my sword, and I pull the sword out of the sheath. You can hear the shink, and you see your opponent before you. It's an orc. Ooze coming out of his lips and chin. You can see the talons. You can see tusks coming out. They're orange and black. Those are the things that make a role-playing game fucking awesome. Now, in a story, you have all these hooks. I want to check my levels. Excuse me one moment. Okay, my levels are pretty good. Everything on streaming land looks good. All right, awesome. On my chat, I have the Discord. Go ahead and join us on Discord. Let me know what you think and so forth, and we'll talk. So, I'm just going over what is role-playing. Having miniatures, having maps, those are aesthetics. Those are great for your game. But are they the main part of role-playing? No. They're not. You can do fast combat with theater of the mind just as quick, if not quicker, than having your miniature. Because everybody gets into this. Well, I have my miniature here. I'm going to move them to the left or to the right. I'm facing that opponent. Boom. You could easily do all that by saying, in a theater of the mind, I look at my opponent, I turn and look at him. Okay, you're facing him. We know you're doing that. You don't have to turn your body. No, you're saying, I am looking at my opponent. I'm looking at that dragon. I'm looking at that zombie. I'm looking at whatever you're fighting. You turn to him, you look, and you attack. Beautiful. Now, remember, folks use all those miniatures and maps and stuff, and they say, oh, that's all part of role-playing. No, it's not. Maps, miniatures, all that stuff is great to have. Don't get me wrong. I use it. It's great. It's fun. But theater of the mind is 100% role-playing. That's what it is. That's what Dungeons & Dragons is. When you describe the dragon, when you describe its wings being curled behind its back, and you can hear the roar, you can see the ooze coming out of its mouth, you can see the fiery breath. Those are the things that draw you into role-playing. If you have a painted miniature, it ruins that imagination. Look, I'm not saying anything. I love painting. I'm not good at it, but I love doing it. It's fun. It's great to have that in a map, and it looks great on film. Awesome. It looks amazing, but it's missing that element when the DM describes the dragon, when the DM describes that NPC, that pirate, matey, that pirate. You can see the hook instead of a hand. You can see the curled weapon that he has in his sheath. You can see those elements, those things of role-playing that makes role-playing what it is. People don't understand it. They're like, Henry, what's role-playing? Yeah, a bunch of dice, a bunch of guys talking. No, it's more than that. They're basically improving. They're improving. That's all it is. The DM creates the scenario, the players, they get into their characters, and they have a great time. Most people, one of the guys in my group said, Henry, I can't do what you do. I go above and beyond in role playing. And I said, you got it. You're doing it. You just get in there, get in the character and do it. Nothing wrong with that. People look at me and they say, well, it's a little embarrassing, to act that way. Think about it. Role playing is very, very, it's a relief from the world that we are in today. You sit at the table with 4 or 5 guys and gals, whatever, your group, however big they are, and you have a great time. You immerse yourself in this fictitious world, fantasy world, cyberpunk world, vampire world. If you are into mechs, Gundam, whatever it is, that type of world, that's what role-playing is. I'm not saying miniatures are bad. No, I'm not. I'm not saying having maps, all that stuff is cool. It brings another element to role-playing. But if you want to talk to me about what role-playing really is, it's theater of the mind, 100%. People can sit and look at me and say, Henry, you're completely wrong. A miniature, it's all it is. That's fine. Then go play a tabletop game with no story and just combat. That's not role-playing. I'm sorry. I'm an old school gamer. I know what it is. I've been role-playing for a long time. And I'm telling you, it's not role-playing. Miniatures are there for a reason, to show positioning, to show what you're doing, the exact amount of distance that you're doing from one point to another. If you're playing Warhammer, you grab the string on the top of the miniature, way across on the other head of the miniature. Oh, you got your opponent. No. Role-playing is you describe what you're doing. I look at my opponent, I attack my opponent, I roll for the outcome, and that's pretty much it. It's not that hard. I think in today's world, in today's gaming world, we have this idea of let's make the game so complex that it draws away from the escape. You escape from the real world. You are an elf, an orc, a half-orc, a human, a paladin, a cleric, a barbarian, a rogue, whatever. Whatever. You are those classes and races. We've even gotten so far to say, well, let's change it from race to species. I don't care. If you want to call it species or race, it doesn't matter. It's all under the same category. All that stuff is role-playing. When you leave that and say, well, I can't really role-play because I can't see it. And there are some people that love extreme combat and love to have miniatures and to show what's happening. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm down. Let's do it. When you have the element of both, you create this immersive world. And now you have a balance of, yeah, you can still describe your image, your dragon. Okay, Raymond, thank you for commenting. Do I have a preferred system or edition? I like 5e. I do like old school Dungeons and Dragons. If you played the white box, the white box is very cool. I've played Vampire the Masquerade. I played Palladium System. I've played a lot of role-playing games, and let me tell you, the white box D&D is deadly. If you like dungeon crawling, if you like deadly, rolling for your ability, one at a time, in order. If you like that type of stuff, I do. Well, right now I'm in a campaign. I'm using 5e. My players like D&D 5e, the 2014 version, and then in the future I'll discuss with my party if they want to try out 2024 version. What do you play, Raymond? Now, go ahead. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll answer as quickly as possible. But thank you for your comments. Playing different editions is great. And let me tell you, when you immerse yourself in that world, depending on what it is, and if, for example, Cyberpunk, it's a great, if you played Cyberpunk 2020, oh, play 5e? Okay, 5e is cool. Yeah, it is very cool. Oh, all right. Awesome. Raymond, have you tried the white box? Let me know in your comment and I'll answer. But I'm going to continue. Depending on what you pick, I started at Redbox 80s and played all except for, oh, okay, cool. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, the red box is cool, man. It's very cool. All right. Thank you for your comment. Have you? Oh, okay. So you haven't played it. Oh, you haven't played the white box. Okay. I'm sure that if you give it a shot, you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've ran it. I've played it, and it's great. It's deadly. It's not like 5e. 5e is the superheroes of Dungeons and Dragons, as I call it. Very, very, very strong. There's nothing wrong with playing old school games. It brings the energy and excitement of Dungeons and Dragons. And let me ask you guys a question, since you all are watching. Have you played games other than Dungeons and Dragons, like Cyberpunk or Vampire the Masquerade? Let me know in the comments and I'll answer, but I'm going to continue what I'm saying. Role-playing in general is strong, is weak. What I mean by that is this. When you describe your character, you immerse yourself in a fantasy world, you can be strong, you can be as weak as you want. It's all the role-playing, the improv, the energy that you give to the role-playing aspect. The miniatures, all that stuff, it intensifies the game. But role-playing is theater of the mind. I am a huge believer in that. Because if you, as a DM, cannot describe and you just go into the miniatures, hey, the miniatures help with the game, awesome. But the main thing is describe. Describe, describe, describe. Immerse yourself into the game and put yourself out there. No one, hey, look, if you're not a voice actor, it doesn't, all that stuff aside, before any of that happened, role-playing was a bunch of people around the table, a bunch of friends, family, having a great time. Eating pizza, chips, drinking Pepsi or Coke, whatever it is, having a great time. And you know what? What the most important thing that people forget about role-playing is they have a tendency to forget, oh, well, I'm bored. I don't know what to do now. What do I do? Look, if you get bored in a role-playing game, there's a problem. There's a problem. And I know people get tired and stuff. We all work in our lives. We got all that. I understand. But right now, here, now. You are in a fantasy world. You're a paladin, a fighter, a barbarian, whatever you are. And the thing is, what makes that energy is you. You're the one that creates that energy. When the DM says, what are you doing? You're going to grab your sword. You're going to cast a spell. You're going to sit back. You're a rogue. Put your hood up. Hide in the shadows. That's what you do. That's what role-playing is. And tonight, I wanted to talk, not briefly, the subject of role-playing, because most people out there, they have this idea that role-playing is just, well, we're just going to talk, and that's it. No. Role-playing is the energy that you give the character. You bring life to that character. When you write your abilities, your strength, your dexterity, charisma, wisdom, intelligence, all that stuff, you are the one that gives life to that character. Do it. Try it out. Try it out once. If you're the type of player that says, okay, I read, I want to do this, I roll, try improv. Try changing your ways. Look at your stats. And I've said this before, earlier in my episodes, I've talked about a fighter that I played in the white box, that he was a fighter and my strength was very low. My dexterity was high, my constitution was high, but my strength was low. And you know a fighter needs strength. So when you have a fighter and that fighter's strength is low, what do? Give up? Nope. I didn't give up. I said, I'm doing it. I'm playing the character. The DM said, Henry, why are you going to play this character? Your character designed that this fighter needs his strength. And I said, I got it. So what I did was, my fighter had my sword. I had a long sword, and the sword was too heavy. I was dragging it. But I had my slingshot. And boy, was I good with that slingshot. That fucking slingshot, man. I pull, boom, I would just nail the bad guy. What was it? 1d4 damage, somewhere around there? Very low damage, but you know what? It was fun. And I role played. I acted like I was this badass fighter. And you know what? It was fun. Those are the things that role-playing is about. Role-playing is about the energy that you put in that character. And the DM, as a DM, I look at my players and I give them energy and they give energy to me. That's the way I do things. So if I have the scenario, if they're in a tavern and one of my guys goes up to the bartender and it says, I'd like to order an ale, and they say, I like to order an ale. And then I turn around and it's just, sure, no problem, I'll get back to you. He turns around, smashes the ale onto the table, and you grab the ale. Oh, 1 silver piece. We don't have it. Get out. Just stuff like that. Get the energy into your role playing. And when you do that, it gives the players that same energy back. And you go into that scene. You deliver the best to your ability. And that's what role-playing is. My buddy, Alex, he has a game. He created a game called Existential Essential. And that game, his dad, Anthony, and I, we were going back and forth. And it's a cyberpunk type of game. And we were going back and forth. And I, like I said before, am the type of role player that you give a lot of energy, I'm going to give it back. We're going to just, together, we're going to go back and forth. And when you do that, it really intensifies the scene. It makes it where everybody has a great time. And a lot of people, when they role play around the table, they have the tendency of doing this. I'm going to look at my I'm going to look at my stats. I'm going to see what I can do. Or even better, here's what players do a lot of times. Oh, I'm going to roll dice. Now I know what to do. I'm going to attack. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that. But instead of doing that, take your paper. Say, I'm going to attack. I want to attack. You don't have to do a voice. I'm going to attack. I have my sword at my side. I'm looking around. What's the creature doing? What's the bad guy doing? What's the antagonist doing? What's he doing? You know, give energy. Have energy. You are a fighter. Act like it. You're a cleric. Act like it. I use a spell. You know what the components are. Use them. Describe them. I take the sand in my hand. I crush a rock. I have a crystal. Use it. Do that. The energy that you portray in your character is what role-playing. That's what it's all about. When you sit here and describe your character, my cloak has zodiac symbols around my white cloak. My ice blue eyes. My hair drops down. You can see my blonde hair. I tried to hide my features in the hood of the cloak. Whatever. Give your energy of that character. When you have a DM and they see that you're giving it all, the DM is going to go ahead and double down. He's going to go ahead or she's going to go ahead and give it all as well, because everybody's having fun. The number one thing is fun. Ultimately, fun. Number one is fun. And I just described what is role-playing. Role-playing, to me, in my opinion, theater of the mind. You have a table full of people, family or friends, and you describe your characters, you role-play, improv. It's all role-playing. No miniatures, nothing. It's my opinion. Miniatures do not make role-playing. You do. Miniatures can't move. Miniatures can't cast a spell. They look good. Those are aesthetics of the game. They're part of the game. They're used to intensify the game. But the role-playing is all you, 100% you. Now, if you look at other aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, other aspects of all role-playing games, well, the stats are important. Yeah, they're important. They give you an idea of how to role-play your character. The abilities in Dungeons and Dragons, the strength, the charisma, all that stuff, gives you an idea. Okay, he's strong, or she's beautiful, she's witty, stuff like that. The abilities give you an idea. What I do is when I create a character, an NPC or whatever, the first thing I do is create what I want. Do I want this witty person, all that stuff? I roll for the stats. Legitimately, roll for the stats. You don't, put your points into them. Point allocation is great. It's easier to do. I like rolling. Rolling it's fun. Rolling is a lot of fun. Oh, you wanted this witty character, but she's not really witty because I rolled badly. She has an intelligence, a wisdom, and a charisma of 12, 11, 10, decent numbers, but it's not really something you want. So what you want to do is you get your abilities. Once your abilities are done, then you have if you are creating a cleric, what you want in the cleric, all that type of thing. Look in the background, what you want as a background. Backgrounds are very important. Those are the things you have to look at to really bring life into your character. I love playing paladins and fighters. Do you like playing paladins or fighters? Do you like playing barbarians or rangers? Rangers are very cool. If you want to play a Draken Warden, 2014 version, not 2024, that's Something that you, as a player, or if you have a DM that wants an NPC that's a certain specific ranger or pirate or, dual multi-class fighter, cleric, whatever, those are the things you have to think about. Because when you have those NPCs out there and they have no life, those stats mean nothing. No, they don't. You could have mechanically they work. No, it works mechanically, but there's no life. What if you walk into a role-playing game and you're invited, and this DM describes a fighter walking into a tavern? Same scenario. The orc in the background, you sit down and you want an ale. Yes, I like some ale. The orc turns around, gives the DM is giving the energy, ale. But you walk in and you say, ale, thank you. You're welcome. Go. All right. You could play it. It would be kind of cool. You're monotone. Okay, you're monotone. That's the type of character you want to play. So as a DM, I'd be like, okay, he's, lost for words. He's not very spoken. But then you realize that the player is not giving it his all or her all. You can say, oh, wait, they're new or whatnot. All that set aside. But let's say there's some people out there, and you've been experienced role players as well. Hey, I don't want to do voices. That's fine. You don't have to do a voice. But describe. Oh, yeah. I sit down. I'm going to ask them. Yeah. I like some ale. I brush my hair back. I sit down. I have long hair and a ponytail. I have my sword at my side. I look at the tables around me. I look at the bartender. I like some ale. See the difference? Instead of walking in. Ale. You describe your character. You don't have to do voices. You describe your character. You look around. You sit down. You order your ale. A silver piece to the orc. And that's it. Everybody has their own role-playing style. There's nothing wrong with not doing a voice. Describe your character. But if you're going to go in there and say, well, I walked into a tavern, I looked around, I sat down on my sword on my side. Roll perception to see if there's anybody around. Nothing. No. No. I mean, people can say, well, that's the way he role plays. No. That is not role playing at all. You're not giving it your all. See, when I just said, when you immerse yourself into a different world, you are in a fantasy setting. You're not in Chicago. You're not in San Francisco. You're not in New York City. You are in this realm. If you're in a Greyhawk, you're going to play Greyhawk. If you were Forgotten Realms, you're Forgotten Realms, baby. That's where you're at. You're not this monotone dude walking in to a tavern and saying, hey, give me a ale. No. Throw a little bit of energy into it. That's all I'm saying. Energy. Do your best with that. Voices, hey, you want to do a voice? You give it your best shot. It's all in fun. It's awesome. You don't want to do a voice? Don't do a voice. But give it your energy. The energy that you give for 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, you're having fun. 3 to 4 hours. And if you don't do that, it's not role-playing. I'm sorry, it's not. You might disagree with me. Tell me in the comments. Let me know what you think. What do you think role-playing is? What is your idea of role-playing? Do you have miniatures on the table and that's all you do? Combat scenarios and, oh, wait, I know what type of spell I'm going to use. I'm going to, twin this spell because I'm a sorcerer and I can do all this cool shit. What do you think? Let me know. Role-playing and getting to improvisation, giving yourself the energy that you need as a player character, a PC, to go in there and doing it your best and giving it your best shot. Period. And Buddy Anthony, he ran and I love Robotech, and he ran a Robotech game. And it was, for those of you who are old school, know Robotech. It was fucking awesome. It was amazing. And it was, what was it? Cyclone riders. We were all cyclone riders. We were in mechas, the Guardian mode, all that cool stuff, and it was amazing. He made it like you were in that world, and you didn't have to do voices, but you give the energy. And I think nowadays, younger generation, they have a tendency to say, hey, well, I'm just gonna roll dice and that's it. Nothing wrong with rolling dice. No, that's all part of role playing. But when you sit here and roll dice and don't give it any thought or energy, you're in the wrong, bro. Because let me tell you, when you role play and you give it the energy, it's fun. It delivers. It captures what you want for that evening or afternoon. That's what it's about. The essence of role playing is you, my friend. You're the ones that give the energy to that character. A character is just a piece of paper if you don't give that energy. Just a piece of paper with a bunch of numbers on it. You might as well just play fucking Monopoly. Seriously. It's the truth. You tell me if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. If I'm full of crap or whatnot. It is not just pen and paper. You give the energy. The energy that you give into these characters is role playing. Now, let's look at the game mechanics. The game mechanics are all part of what Raymond had mentioned earlier. He's played old school games, so have I. He's played 5e. And Raymond, thank you for watching, by the way. Thank you for commenting. He's played these games. So my thing is, game mechanics are just as important, because those game mechanics develop the system that you're playing. If you're playing 5e, if you're playing an old school game, the white box, the red box, if you're playing Cyberpunk or Vampire the Masquerade, those mechanics bring those games to life as well. Now, this is important. If you sit here and role play and you give it your best and you start rolling badly, that's just the name of the game. It's a dice. The dice make the decision. You can say, well, I am going to attack that individual. I'm going to jump in the air, kick them, do a flip, or do whatever, and you roll badly, you're done. But that's all part of the game. That's how it's like a board game, where the dice ultimately give the outcome. And most likely, that outcome is what tells the story. The DM has an outline for a story. Each story is very different. I love to write, so I can go ahead and write as much as possible. And when you sit here and you have your players enjoying the game, and let's say you had a scenario as DM where they had to fight this red dragon, and the red dragon is your big bad, and the red dragon was supposed to, and you have it in your head, this epic battle, and the players were like, they defeated the dragon, but you know, it was a slow fight, and it was epic, and you had this music in your head. And this happened as a DM when you have these ideas in your head. And my buddy at work, Jeremy, he was telling me that I have this bridge idea, and I do. I've always wanted the player characters, to be on a bridge, to have a bridge scenario. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But got to remember, just because you create that story in a role-playing game doesn't mean that the players are going to go by it. And if they roll really good, like if they get 20s and if they one-shot your creature, it happens. Those dice are good or bad. When they roll good, you are in deep shit. When they roll bad, they roll bad. But it's part of the game. It's not about you as a DM being in trouble. I was just being funny. But what I'm saying is, if they're rolling good, and that's awesome, they're having a good time, but not all the time are players going to roll really good. And that's what makes a role-playing game. You roll that dice at 20-sided, and you get a 1 or a 15 or whatever, you add that modifier, you're done. Raymond says, overwhelm their interest in getting into character. It's a learned thing. It's a trust thing. People have to know and understand their performance isn't being judged. Great point, Raymond. Great point. Yes. And I think when you have a bunch of people that you know as friends, and I said friends and family, and that's one thing about the role-playing community, the community of role players as a whole. We do not judge. We role play. We have a great time. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Raymond. Thank you very much, Raymond. Yeah, energy is very, very cool. But like I was saying, the community is what makes a role-playing game as well. We love each other. We're friends. We're family. Yeah, we get into fights. We're like family. We get into fights. We don't like a certain situation. And when you have a player across from you, a buddy of yours, and he doesn't like what you're doing, you say, oh man, that's crap. Take it away from the table. Talk to them away from the table. Because if you don't do that, it's going to ruin the essence of what an RPG is. Raymond, thank you very much. I appreciate that comment. That was awesome. That's what I mean. Raymond just showed an example of communication, and that's exactly what you want from a DM and your players, to communicate and have fun. And if you are exhibiting energy, they'll do the same thing. And give everybody that limelight. Everybody needs that. They need that little energy in a role-playing game. They need that spotlight. When they do that, and like Raymond said, not everybody is going to exhibit a performance, and they might be a little nervous about people judging them. But here's the thing. When you are an orc or an elf, they're going to be like, Like I said before, when I played the older games, my fighters sucked ability-wise. And my DM gave me an option. You can re-roll these stats or re-roll a new character. And I said, I don't want to re-roll the stats. I want to keep them. He goes, are you sure? I said, yes. And I played them. And I had my trusty sling. It was awesome. I loved it. Having a sling was the best thing ever. That's what you have to do too. I mean, you don't, just my opinion. But the thing is, when you do that, when you're like, oh man, I rolled badly, or let's say you have your character you've been playing for a long time, you're going to session number 30, and you get killed, you die. Make another character. Make him. Man, it sucks when your character died. My characters died. It sucked. It really sucked. I had a game with my buddy where I played a mage, and I wanted this villain because he was pissing me off, and my DM was so good, and he knows how to prick and prod, just tick, 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 tick. And he had the scenario where the villain was just 50 feet away from me, and I had him in my sights, and I was going to do a fireball, but I wasn't thinking. I was role-playing my character. I was thinking. I was like, I was a mage. I was mad. I wanted him dead. You know, he killed a lot of people, and the other players, they dashed. It was my... Now, let me tell you, I had an option to not do it. It was their turn. They were in the way. I wanted this villain to die so badly that I thought, man, I hope that he dies. And I didn't think I had these blue blockers. My party was in the way. And I just said, oh, man, 2 other characters died. I didn't die. They died. And ultimately, at the end of the game, we're to stop the big bad before this end of the world would happen, this cataclysm. We didn't do that. We screwed up. We all died anyway. But the thing was, before that, I killed 2 party members because I was thinking of myself. I was into character so much that when I saw that villain, that's all I wanted was a villain. The big bad. I wanted him. I wanted to die. I wanted to kill him. So I figured fireball. The fireball is in an enclosed space, can do a lot of damage. And a lot of damage, takes up a lot of room, and the players were pissed. Yeah, they were angry at me. I apologized profusely because I'm like, oh my God, you're in the way. And they're like, how? That's where miniatures make a difference between theater of the mind. Theater of the mind, I will always advocate for. But miniatures, if you have them here and here, you do a fireball, and they bring out that little circular translucent scale, and they go, boom. Oh, yeah, you're going to kill everybody in the room. Oh no, I did that. I messed up badly. Hey, when you make mistakes when you role play. You're out there, you have a great time, and you put a lot of energy into it, and a lot of times, if the DM knows how to prick and prod, he's going to show that energy. You're going to show the energy, and you're going to attack, and sometimes you don't think. Remember that if you're playing, think before you do something. I mean, sometimes it doesn't happen. I tell you get overwhelmed by emotion. Here's another game I want to talk about. It's D&D, but another story. One of the game I was running, one of the guys, they were going up against a big bad, and this big bad had 5 forms. Yes, 5. And they killed one of the forms. And they had already exhausted themselves. So they didn't know about 4 other forms. But instead of running, fight or flight, they said, no, we're going to kill him. And they thought, oh, he's dead. Oh, it came out, form number 2. And they really, really got their ass kicked. And in form 2, by the time they got rid of form 2, they got some energy, some rolls or whatever. It was really good. And they ended up killing form 2. The other 3 forms, when they by the third form, they had to run. They had to say, we got to get out of here or we're going to die. They chose as a party to flee. Now, as a DM in my games, the bad guy is not going to be like, whoa, you're leaving. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to let you leave. The bad guy's like, you ain't going nowhere. You started this, I'm going to end it. That's the way it's done in my games. My villains don't wait for you to get to point A, B, and C because you decided to take your time and investigate and do all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with investigating and role-playing, and all that stuff is great. But my villains are going to move. They're going to take action. They're going to go up levels. They're going to do their thing. And if you don't do that, whose fault is it? Yep, it is. So, where do we go from here? Ultimately, at end, because we're going to reach our hour, and I want to keep this show within the hour. So, Raymond, I love your comments. Thank you very much. I have my Discord account on there. Love to have you. Let me see if I can put it on here again. Yeah, Discord. Yeah, there you go. Look for Playerole. Love to have you guys. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, we have a three-shot per se. It's called End of the Line. This is the continuation of the first arc of End of the Line. This is called End of the Line Returns, and it will be here on YouTube. We're on Kick. We're on Twitch. We're also on Facebook. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching, guys. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, here on Playerole. We're going to have a good time. It's our Halloween special. Join us. It's all a theater of the mind. No miniatures tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how they'll take it. A lot of the crew that I have, my players, they love miniatures. So they're going to be like, oh, no. So either way, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you for watching.